What's cracking, YouTube? Welcome back to the channel, and as always, thank you all very much for tuning in. Really appreciate each and every one of you. For today's video, we're going to get into a preview for round 2 of AMA Supercross that's going down this weekend in San Diego at the Wales Vagina National. And in today's video, first topic, it's the elephant in the room. We got to talk about Prado and KTM and Sexton and Kawasaki. Was Prado right about the Kawasaki? Was Sexton wrong about the KTM? Was I wrong about Prado? Were we all wrong about Prado? So many questions, but is it too early for answers? Then we'll get into Eli Tomac. The old dog absolutely smashed Anaheim 1. And Anaheim 1 is always a little bit of a weird race, but we'll talk about how good Eli looked and if this could be for real and if he could end up being the champ this year. Then we'll get into some 250 class storylines. We had Max and Steve Fish and Chips domination, Hayden Deegan and Levi Kitchen with some awesome comeback rides and some antics on press day. The beef is definitely not over. Then we had Chance Hymas with a second place in the main event with an awesome ride despite not being at the Lawrence compound anymore. We had a new brand entering Supercross with Ducati, and I want to get a little bit into how awesome I thought their first race was. We'll talk a little bit about Club MX Yamaha's Hunter Yodar as he soldiered through a blown knee and got an 8th place in the 250 main event. Then at the end of the video, like we always do, we'll get into a track preview, an MX Simulator onboard lap, and my predictions for what I think is going down this weekend at round 2 in San Diego. But before we get into all that stuff, you guys know the deal. I got to give a huge thank you and a shout out to my channel sponsors. They're the whole reason I'm able to do this West Coast swing of Supercross, so go check them out. Huge thank you to ASV Inventions, home of the Unbreakable Lever, Sirius Studio, who has some sweet merch worn by myself, Trey Kennard, and other people that are way more of a legend than me, and the DesignLabCo.com. They've got some great designs in their lab at their co, and if you have any graphic needs, they can take care of you. And can't forget about my newest channel sponsor. Huge thank you to Simplify. They're an automatic booking and payment system for solo entrepreneurs. Whether you're a moto coach or hell, whatever you are, it'll definitely make your life a lot easier and your business a whole lot more efficient. And in regards to all these awesome companies supporting the channel, if you guys buy from them, a small portion of the sale goes to me. So if you guys support them, you are literally supporting me. I have all my links and discount codes in the video description, and I really hope you guys enjoy today's video. All right, first topic of discussion today is the Jorge Prado versus Kawasaki versus Chase Sexton versus KTM. We'll even have to throw a little bit of Garrett Marchbanks in there. And this is a crazy one to me, absolutely mind-boggling, because coming into this thing, I really didn't have any expectations for Jorge Prado, and it's not that I didn't know he was an amazing rider. You don't become a 4-time MXGP world champion just by chance or anything like that. It doesn't happen by accident, so I've always known the guy was good, and I know you guys remember me last summer as being probably his #1 hater. And pretty much the entire reason I was hating so hard is because I knew how good he was, and I was upset that we weren't seeing it and the fact that he wasn't trying. And I think part of the reason why I really lost it when Jorge didn't try at all and went for the DNQ at Budds Creek is because I know a lot of people at Kawasaki. A few of them are my friends, and if there's one guy that I know is not going to ever give up, I mean, the dude had a sticker on his crossbar pad growing up that said, "Don't give up, don't ever give up." But if there's one guy that's never going to give up, it's their test rider. He's one of the hardest working people I know, and I know he didn't give up on Jorge. But he always talked about how he wasn't comfortable on the Kawasaki. I mean, who was I to not believe him? He definitely didn't look comfortable, but I always wondered, you know, it can't quite be that bad, can it? And I'm still not sure if it's that bad. You know, Sexton didn't have a very good A1, but A1's always a little bit weird. I need a few more races in the books before I really draw any serious conclusions on this one. But now that George is back in Spain and Jorge's here in America, I really cannot possibly say enough good things about Jorge Prado and how he rode at Anaheim 1. From the first couple of laps at press day, through qualifying, his good lap times, and just how he looked the entire day, all the way through the main event, it was absolutely amazing. He looked exactly like the 4-time world champion that I was expecting to come over here last year, and most importantly, he looks comfortable, he looks happy, and a happy rider is a fast rider, and damn is a fast rider what we have now. I'm definitely not ready to apologize to Prado or anything like that, because after his ride at Anaheim 1, I've kind of felt like I was even more validated than ever, thinking that he wasn't really trying last summer. But at the same time, one thing that I was very wrong about was my prediction of how he was going to do this year. I think I put him back in like 15th. He's only done a handful of Supercross races in his life, and even though he was going back to KTM, which is a bike and a team that he was comfortable on, I still just didn't know what to expect with such a stacked field. But yeah, I'll go ahead and eat my words massively on my predictions for Jorge Prado in Supercross this year, because that was an absolutely unbelievably amazing ride from Jorge. I still can't necessarily say I'm a fan yet after how he handled last summer, but I am super stoked that he's back to 100% effort. Honestly, I couldn't be any happier about it. The sport's always better when the top dogs are in it, and how he rode last year, Jorge Jorge was definitely not a top dog, but now that he's back on KTM, now that he's comfy, and most importantly, now that he's trying, he is 100% a top dog. I don't think that was going to be an A1 fluke. I think he's going to stick around and be good all season. A1 is a weird race, but the dude passed the eye test, and that's the biggest thing for me is he just looked so great out there. He looked exactly like Jorge Prado. The technical skill, the feet on the pegs kind of stuff, and just the bike skill, it was all there. It was all back. And while I still don't think the Kawasaki is that bad, apparently it really was that bad for Jorge. And while Prado and KTM came out of this thing smelling like a rose, we have the complete opposite effect for Chase Sexton and Kawasaki. A rough debut for Chase and a rough debut for Garrett Marchbanks as he was unable to make the main event after a couple of incidents. And as far as Sexton and Marchbanks go, it was only A1. I'm not necessarily ready to just write them off at all and say that they're in trouble or this and that. Weird things always happen at Anaheim 1, and it's not like the guys were horrible all day. Sexton topped the board in qualifying. He was second in the other one. Marchbanks looked good and was pretty fast all day. It just didn't quite come together in the main event or the heat of the LCQ for Garrett, unfortunately. And in the case of Marchbanks, it definitely sucks. You definitely never want to miss your first main event in the 450 class, but at the same time, Hunter Lawrence had the same thing happen, and I think he turned out just fine, so I'm not hitting the panic button for Garrett. It definitely sucks. It's not ideal, but I think it's going to be okay. But in regards to Chase Sexton, it kind of seems like the exact same deal as last year on the KTM. Very fast, but weird mistakes that you don't usually see anybody else make. I mean, I definitely didn't see anybody else turn down for what on the bridge jump and crash into the face of it. I mean, that was an insanely unique Sextonism. But it looked like Chase was a little bit off with his bike setup, and now my question kind of is it really the Kawasaki or is it Chase? Marchbanks had no complaints, but Chase looked a little bit off in the main event. I saw him get kicked to Indonesia, just have a couple of wild rides, so the jury's still out on this one. Prado versus Cowie versus Sexton versus KTM. I think it's still a little bit too early to draw conclusions, but if this kind of thing keeps happening, if Sexton keeps having bad weekends and Prado keeps having awesome weekends along with Eli Tomac winning, then I'd say it's time to hit the panic button. But for now, let's get through these first couple of opening rounds and then draw some conclusions from there. Next up, let's talk about Eli Tomac and his dominating ride at Anaheim 1. And is this for real? Could he be the champ this year on the KTM? And like I just talked about with all those guys in the previous segment, it's a little bit early to draw conclusions from Anaheim 1. It's always a little bit of a weird race. You see things at Anaheim 1 that you sometimes don't see for the rest of the year. But just like I talked about with Jorge Prado, Tomac is definitely for real. He passed the eye test. He looked good the entire time from press day through qualifying, heat race, and the main event. And despite getting up there a little bit in the age category, the dude's been here and done it before, a total legend, and I think this might be the year that Eli goes down to the wire and really challenges for this thing. I really like his preseason approach, how he raced World Supercross. He got the kinks out of the way in some race situations and got a lot of knowledge and data that Chase Sexton and Kawasaki did not get at the practice track. I heard him say in an interview that they tested it like 8 or 10 different tracks, which, very smart approach. I mean, there's no 2 Supercross tracks that are the same, so when you're preparing for a series that's going to have 17 unique different venues and 17 unique different track layouts, conditions, and all that kind of stuff, I really love the fact that they took all that into consideration and actually tested on multiple surfaces and multiple tracks. But one question that I do still have that one race will definitely never be able to answer is whether Tomac will be able to continue this on a weekend by weekend basis consistently or not. One thing about some of these guys that get a little bit older and later into their career is sometimes the consistency vanishes a little bit and some of their bad nights are a little bit worse than they used to be. But if there's one legend that could ever be an exception to that rule, it would be Eli Tomac. I mean, straight up, the dude is not human. Beast mode is still in there, and I could really see him rearing its head in several races this year because he looks ultra comfy on the KTM. I was listening to James Stewart's Bubba's World podcast breakdown last night, which, shout out to JS7 for bringing that thing back. Super sick, tons of information. I even learned all kinds of stuff on it. But watching that video, James was talking about how he was watching Eli and how his bike setup on the KTM reminded him of Eli back in the day on the Honda. And I feel like Honda Eli was actually the gnarliest beast mode there ever was. I mean, those were back in the days at Hangtown 2015 whenever he lapped up to like 7th place and beat Ryan Dungey by a minute and a half at Hangtown. People don't just do that. But not only did James think he looked good, I thought he looked ultra comfortable as well. I saw him doing some foot dangles, some shoulder leans, and some head leans, all the kind of stuff that Tomac is classically known for doing. So I think ET and the KTM are at one with each other right now. I saw another interview with Eli this week, I think it was Swap Moto, where he said that the honeymoon phase is still on and he shows up at the track and loves looking at his motorcycle. And things like that are going to go a long way for Eli this late in his career. I feel like we all thought he was going to be gone by now, but now that he's made another team switch, it seems like every round and every year he seems to enjoy it more and more. So despite this being like a 1-year deal with another year option, who knows? If this year goes well, maybe we'll see Eli Tomac for several more years. But I don't know about all that. I'm getting very ahead of myself. But the one point I do want to make is I didn't quite have him as a championship contender going into Anaheim 1. I feel like I slept on him, and I feel a little bit stupid for that. It's still too early to tell, but I am definitely leaning towards him being in this thing for the long haul. Let's go, ET. Now let's get into some storylines in the 250 class from Anaheim 1, starting with Max Anstey. Total domination at the opening round for Fish and Chips, and a long podium interview, long press conference interviews, long interviews in the pre-race press conference. I was sitting next to somebody who shall not be named in the pre-race, and whenever they asked Max a question, he tapped me on the shoulder and told me to wake him up when Max was done. But I'm totally kidding. I actually love Max Anstey's interviews, especially his interview after the Anaheim 1 win, where he talked about how as a kid, he came to the stadium, watched Anaheim 1, and just dreamed of even being able to race there, let alone winning there. So definitely a dream come true for Max, and I love it so much whenever people show how much it means to him. Super cool. But Max made it look pretty easy. He got a really good start, and he was just battling with a bunch of people that were almost old enough to be one of his kids if he was really fooling around when he was younger. He got through Rider D when it was time, he got through Hymas, and he just checked out and never looked back. Not to toot my own horn, even though I'm tooting my own horn, but I did predict a Max Anstey win at the opener. He's always good to start the series, but the question I have is if he can go the distance. Historically, even in World Supercross in the 5-race series, he peaks early, crushes it at the beginning of the series, and then kind of declines a little bit gradually from there. So with a 10-race series, he's going to have to stay at peak form for a long time, but if he's able to do that, Max has the talent, the speed, and the experience to go the distance and really challenge Hayden Deegan, Levi Kitchen, Chance Hyman, or whoever the hell else feels like fighting for this thing. Then there's Chance Hymas, a great ride for Hymas in the second spot, super impressive, and one thing I was very surprised about with this ride is the fact that he did it after he left the Lawrence compound. And I say he left the Lawrence compound, I came into some information today that apparently he's only going to not be there for the West Coast Supercross swing, and I guess he'll be back there at some point this year. So it's not like it was a breakup with the Lawrences or anything crazy like that, but he's been riding out the West Coast. I think he's been riding at Mesquite, just riding by himself. And I didn't really know how that was going to work. You know, he usually rides with some of the best guys in the world, and I didn't think you could possibly take a step up just going solo rather than riding and chasing Hunter Lawrence, Jet Lawrence, Seth Hamaker, and all the guys at the Dog Pound. But I'll be a son of a gun. Apparently I don't know much because Chance looked better than ever, even from the start of press day through qualifying. The whole shebang, he was great the whole way, and it's not like he lucked into a second place either. I mean, he rode his way up into that spot. So a great ride for Chance Hymas. I'm very interested to see if he can keep this going, and hopefully it wasn't an Anaheim 1 fluke because the kid's super talented. When he's healthy, he's always good, and I'm pretty sure he's healthy right now, so stay tuned to him being good. Then there's Rider D and the finger gun. I talked a little bit about it in my post-race review the other night, but I just think it's so funny, and I see other people, they're talking about how Rider D shouldn't have done that because Deegan's going to get him back and this and that, so I just had to share my opinion on it. Honestly, screw it. If you're Rider D, Deegan's going to try to go for your head every chance he gets no matter what. I mean, the whole we'll race him when it's time thing, this is a long time coming, so if he's going to act like that no matter what, you might as well have a little bit of fun with it and give him the finger gun. Honestly, I support it. Thanks for entertaining me, Rider D, but stay tuned to the payback. And then last but not least for the 250 class, then we had some comeback rides from Hayden Deegan and Levi Kitchen. Very weird from Deegan. It seemed like it took him at least half the race to get going. Then he started unleashing the danger zone in the second half and came back to fourth. Similar deal for Kitchen, except for he was down in the first turn rather than a bad start. Great comeback for him. I actually thought he was going to catch Deegan there for a little bit, but the charge stalled out a little bit towards the end of the race. Maybe he got a little pumped up, tired, I don't know. When you get a blitz through the pack, it's a little bit more taxing on you than it is if you're just ripping laps out front. And I don't know if you guys saw my video from press day where I had Levi Kitchen give us some POV for the YouTube, but it really only took till the first straightaway second corner for Deegan and Kitchen to start going back at each other, cutting each other off, roosting each other. So funny, so entertaining. I mean, Deegan's hitting the rhythm sections and kicking his rear end out just barely enough to blast Kitchen as he lands. And these are the kinds of games that Deegan plays. This is what he's all about. I feel like he thrives on it. And as a fan, I love it. You know, I don't have to deal with it, so I don't really have anything to complain about there. If I was racing him, might be a different story, but I'm not. But the point I'm trying to make is there's definitely still some animosity there. I know at one point everybody was thinking that they were just messing with each other and they were friends, but they're definitely not. There's definitely still beef. And if I had to make a prediction, I really can't see a world where they don't get into it at least once at some point during the season. Once again, stay tuned. Then we had a new brand in their very first Supercross, and the 450 class of all things, just jumping into the deep end, balls deep. But what a debut for Ducati. I feel like it was absolutely everything they possibly could have asked for besides Justin Barcia getting landed on and getting hurt. That was awful. Massive prayers up to Justin Barcia, and I'm so thankful that the guy's going to be okay. I met him on Friday at press day. Super rad dude. He actually watches the channel, and he said it was cool to get a rider's perspective. I kind of laughed and told him that he lapped me every time I raced him, but he said it doesn't matter. At least I've been out there, so I appreciated the kind words from Bam Bam. It made me sick to see him go down like that, but before the crash, he was awesome. He looked great in the heat race. He was battling with Tomac. Him and Ferrandis took a third and fourth in the heat race, and it looked like they were about to get into it. Ferrandis shook his head like 69 times between between the finish line and on his way off the track, but that's just Bam Bam. It's how he races. I don't even think he did anything bad. He was just riding a wide bike and just being Bam Bam. But between the two of those guys, I'm pretty confident that they would not have looked or done any better on any other bike. That was about where Ferrandis always is, and he was right there in the battle with Cooper Webb, Justin Cooper, Chase Sexton, and guys like that. So no chance the bike was holding him back. He looked great. The bike didn't look like it was kicking out or doing anything funky. It looked like it fit right in, and we didn't quite get a chance to see what Justin Barcia had for us in the main event. But same with him. He looked just as good as always. Especially with the bike being red, it almost just looked like he was still on his gas and Ferrandis was still on their Hondas. But when talking about Ducati, I mean that as a compliment. You know, with a brand new brand, they've only raced MXGP and outdoors. So much stuff could have gone wrong. You know, the test track is way different than the racetrack. You never know until you race. But those guys looked awesome. I was so impressed. Yeah, there might be some growing pains, but I don't really see it being too bad. And as far as the starting point goes, Ducatis are freaking badass. Last topic of conversation before we get into the track preview. Now we're going to talk about Hunter Yodar being an absolute warrior and a half and getting an 8th place in the main event at Anaheim 1 and the 250 class with a blown apart knee. A lot of people were reporting it's an ACL, but Hunter told me it was a meniscus. I don't think he said it was a full tear, but he said there was some pretty good damage. And another thing he told me, he didn't even swear me to secrecy. He actually told me I could say this. So he got surgery this Monday on the knee. I guess he got hooked up to go to the McGinley Clinic in Wyoming. So he went under the knife, got fixed up. And the craziest part is the dude said he was going to be racing this weekend in San Diego still. I don't really know the logistics of how all that's going to work, but more power to him. Yoder's an absolute dog. He just got re-signed for another 1.5 years with Club MX. I guess he started out no salary, just a Supercross only deal, and just basically a big tryout and a chance. But he's shown what he's made of in boot camp. He's an awesome dude, a hard worker, and he told me straight up, I could see the fire in his eyes. You know, I'm not ready to win yet, but at some point, I want to win. And to be completely honest with you guys, that's not something I ever told myself, like not even close. And don't get me wrong, like Yoder's a better rider than me, but talk about shooting for the stars, and the dude totally has the ability. I've seen him do stuff on Supercross tracks that I don't think most other people can do. And the Club MX Yamaha team is a great platform for the dude. It's basically a factory team without being a factory name. The bikes are awesome. He has Chad Reed running his entire program, and talk about somebody who's been there and done it. So I really don't know what to expect this weekend out of Yoder. He's definitely going to be even more under the gun than he was last weekend, even though his Anaheim 1 ride was absolutely unbelievable with the blown out knee. And I almost forgot to mention the heat race. How about the racecraft? The dude led a lap, got passed him back. It was awesome. Wait till this dude's healthy. And when he is healthy, I don't know when that's going to be, but I think Hunter Yoder is going to be a top 5 guy, and I think he's going to shock you guys on the weekend basis. But that's it for our midweek topics national. Now, let's get into our track preview. Here we go, round 2 from San Diego, the Wales Vagina National. Shout out to you, Ron Burgundy. We got the start straight, medium length start straight, right down the middle into a right-handed first corner. That's always a little bit tricky because you're trying to use the rear brake on the right side and you're trying to put that right leg out, but you got a right-handed sweeper for the first corner. Similar setup like last weekend. As you head into the first rhythm section, you go over the back side of the berm that you use on the regular lap. But the first rhythm looks pretty basic. It's either going to be a triple single, or maybe a triple double, depending on how big and beefy the face is on that first one, because the third one is a 5-footer, so jumping from a 3-footer to a 5-footer, usually pretty tricky. Maybe we'll even see somebody become a quad god through there, who knows. But then we're into our first 180 bull corner of the track, a left-hander. That puts us into our longest rhythm section on the track. I'm thinking it's going to be either a step on, step off, triple again, then triple one more time on the way out, or step over the tabletop and then triple again, triple one more time, and then single out. But honestly, it's all going to kind of depend on how they build it on race day with the 3-footers and the 5-footers and how the transitions turn out to be. But out of the long rhythm, then you got a 90-degree corner to the left into our third consecutive rhythm on the track, but this is a short one, either a 2-3 or a 3-2. Another bull corner to the left, and then you just got a basic 3-5-3 triple, a big old seat bounce yacht. Then you got another 180 bull corner, finally to the right this time, and then you're back across where the first corner is, under the tunnel, into a 90, and then a small little pop double. That puts you into the finish line. But this weekend, the finish line's a Supercross triple, and it's the only Supercross triple on the track, so I'm a big fan of that. Leaves way more room for obstacles that actually separate the guys. But land the finish line into a bull corner to the right. You got the nets just in case anybody goes WFO Whiskey Willie. That puts you into our whoop section for this week, and it's a pretty unique one this week because we got a set of whoops. Then it looks like a table to single, maybe a wall jump over the single. I'm not really sure. Once again, it's kind of going to be something we'll have to see how it shapes up whenever they build it. But then you land that, you got about 5 or 6 whoops on the way out too. So kind of 2 whoop sections on one straightaway separated by a wall jump or a table to single. So I think that'll be interesting. I think it'll give people some really good opportunities to get alongside other guys and make passes with it being such a long section. But out of the whoops, then you got just under a 180-degree bull corner to the right, maybe about a 170. That puts you into a step up over the bridge, and those things swings are so vertical. It's basically Unadilla screw you with a bridge on it. But land X Games step up, then you're backwards across the start straight, get through the gears, and then back on the binders because you got another bowl corner. Not quite a 180, but this will be a little bit of a tricky one because the berm doesn't quite start at the beginning of the corner. It starts about a third or maybe a quarter of the way through. So I think that'll create a very one-line entrance to that corner, but you never know. I mean, Vince Freezy's racing. He'll find an entrance tighter than anybody. He doesn't have a choice. But then out of that left-hander, another very short rhythm section. It's looking like either a 2-3 or a 3-2. And with that berm before it not quite being a full berm, I'm thinking that a 2-3 is a little bit more likely than the 3-2, but we'll see who lets the kahunas hang. And then you're into one more right-handed bull corner, back into that first rhythm section off the start, and that's a lap around round 2 for Supercross 2026 in San Diego. Now it's time for the MX Simulator onboard virtual preview lap. And before I get into this thing, what is up with the MX Bikes cult following? Like, you guys are out of control. I can't even believe how many comments I got about, oh, MX Bikes, this and that. Not sure if you guys realize this, but there can actually be more than one fun game out there. Some of y'all need to tone it down. But with that being said, we'll go ahead and get into it, and then after this lap, we'll get into the fun part of the video, my predictions for round 2 in San Diego for the 250 and the 450 classes. Stay tuned. And last but not least, you guys know the deal. We got to get into our predictions. First of all, in the 250 class, first place, I'm going to go with a rebound for Hayden Deegan. Horrible start ruined him in the main at Anaheim 1, but at the same time, he whole shotted the heat race, so maybe the main event bad start was a fluke. If he can start up front, I think Deegan's going to get the win. Second, I think he's going to go to Max Anstey, which will help him retain the red plate. I think he'll be good. He might be great, but if Deegan starts up front, I think Deegan just has a little bit more speed and a little bit more fire to him than Max Anstey. But at the same time, Max is a vet. He's been there and done it like way more times than Deegan actually. So I think it'd be fun to see a battle for the win between the kid and the vet. Then for third, I'm going to go with Levi Kitchen. I think he honestly has the most raw speed in the class. He had the fastest qualifying times at Anaheim 1 and the second fastest time in the main event, despite running through the pack. But his starts were a little bit off in Anaheim 1. Not a great start in the heat race. Not a good start at all in the main event. I mean, that's probably why he crashed, is because he was back and getting jumbled up in the pack. But even though I think there's a good chance he's the fastest guy again, I just think the starts might hinder him. And I think Levi Kitchen will round out the box. But if he can get a start, I'd probably change my prediction to a win on the fly. Then for the 450 class, for the win, I'm going with a repeat for Eli Tomac. He looked awesome last week. I have no reason to think that he can't do it again. And if I remember correctly, the dude's always good in San Diego too. He even beat Jet Lawrence straight up there last year. So I think it's a good venue for Tomac. I think he's comfy, and I think he goes 2 for 2. Then for second, I'm actually going to make this an old dog 1-2 for the second week in a row. I think Ken Roxon can get another second place finish. I mean, he and Tomac beat Prado in third by 3 to 5 business days. They were checked out, a true class of the field. So I think it'd take a lot out of the rest of the field to close that gap up in 7 days. So I feel like Tomac and Roxon should be able to go 1-2 again, but at the same time, you never know when the gate drops. I mean, it's actually insane to try to predict this. But then for third, I'm going to go with Cooper Webb, another guy that I feel like is always good in San Diego. Not a good Anaheim 1. He's going to need a bounce back. I know he's pissed off about the result he got at A1. And Coop's a championship guy, whether you like it or not, a 3-time champ going for a 4th. He knows how to win championships, and you do that by getting podiums. So I see Cooper Webb salvaging a podium and getting the 3rd spot on the box this weekend. But that's all I got for you guys for today's video. As always, please let me know in the comments what you thought of the video, if you liked it, if you hated it, if you agreed with some of my takes, if I'm a cooked unit idiot, or anything in between. We're here for all of it. But thank you guys again for watching. Really appreciate it, and stay tuned. We'll be on site again at San Diego. We're going to have some press day stuff coming out on Friday. Might even try to dabble with some interview stuff this weekend. I don't know. Never really done it before, so stay tuned. Tell me if you think that would be cool. But yeah, that's all we got. Catch you guys in the next one. No choice.